cloud. Okay, there we go. Just in case we missed someone joining. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take some of this out. All right, so look at Palantir Thursday, right? So this was their Thursday. They actually had broke the high of Wednesday and then broke the low. So very interesting day Thursday, but I'm going to zoom in a little, maybe to the 15-minute chart. And one of the things you always want to do is look to the left on a any chart, right? Like don't get stuck. Like we could be zoomed in like today, this is today, right? So we're not looking enough to the left to see where things can go, right? Now my chart already has all these things set up that gives me different signals, but let me just pull this away for a second. All right. And just look what Palantir did right here on most of the week, right? Like they just kind of was in a box. And so if you kind of focused on how they were trading, you kind of know from what high point they need to break. And it even shows on this chart, you're going to get that change of character. So you're looking at this high point from the 27th of May. And from there, they've just been trading under until we got to Friday. And look at the consolidation of how they just traded sideways all day after this little drop right here. I mean, this is almost a $2 move, but I mean, they just kind of traded sideways, nothing special under the 200. And then they made their move on Friday. And so if you were looking to the left, you see some of the areas they need to break, right? Like we need to get here. Uh, and that looks like a key high point because we also have it right here too. So boom, this was really the signal right here, breaking this high and then also breaking this high. So you can see that we just kept going lower, lower, and nothing special was happening. But then we get this news, which I don't know if there was any clues that this was coming out. I certainly wasn't paying attention to know, but news came in on Palantir and they shot up very well. I think Trump may have had a deal with them or something. I don't know. I didn't get to read up on it yet, but it definitely pushed the stock up right at 130.33. And we got a little bit of a peak, and then the pullback was right back to where we started, and then this insane pop breaking this high. So the entry point is always going to be looking for where you can get in from a fair value gap, right? So when price comes back to test, it is tricky because with this one, it would have been chasing if you would have started to look for, maybe let's go to the 5 minute for a second. What you have to kind of pay attention to and not get lost in is the fact that there's going to be signals that you can use on the charts to tell you when to get back in. One, a fair value gap, or coming back to an area where buyers were left. So when we have these order blocks here, these bullish order blocks, they're green on my chart, where we know buyers want to come in on Palantir. We know we had great news. I don't think I was expecting them to pull all the way back here, but they did. And so, I mean, it just even gave the more a better entry point here. But when you're seeing that it hasn't even reclaimed your EMAs, right? So it doesn't even matter what your preference is with an EMA, right? Whatever EMA you're using, once you're under your EMAs, and then we even get under our 200 on the 5 minute for a moment, anything trying to get into calls, in my opinion, is chasing because all of this never, even these little green candles, never gave a signal to jump into a trade. In fact, with the wolf chart, this moving average here, it gave the signal here that we were getting a trend reversal and buyers were coming in. And then you see what happened. We get the reclaiming of our EMAs, we get the cross up. So in my case, I have the 12 EMA and we have my 200 weighted moving average. When those two things cross, right, that's another signal of price action changing. So we get the crossover right here. So, and we're above both EMAs. Look at the run. So there was no signal in any of this pullback to just jump in yet. And that's where you have to know in your entries what your confirmation is, right? Reclaiming your EMAs is definitely one of the signals. Um, even if you bought in this order block, that's a little bit risky because yeah, we have buyers that can start pushing it up, but you got to be careful. So that's an early entry. The better signals on when we reclaim that EMA. And so chasing it, one of the things to look for, sorry, let me just see if I'm missing anything in chat.
Can I say something real quick on your chart?
Yeah.
It's in reference to that wick. It's so I've been focusing on the candle structure a lot, but I can if you don't have the wolf chart, if you can get good at market structure reading, when that reversal took place down at the bottom, when that wick came out down that one right there, if you can start
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to stuff like that, it's you don't have to know every single candle, but you can understand that that's not the norm. That there's something happening. There's something about to happen. So that could be like a signal. So even if you didn't catch the move down, that right there should have been a signal to be kind of looking out because you could have been able to try to identify a move back up. But the width was the thing that stuck out for me on it.
Another thing is looking to the left too, Selena, because with your wick, it's starting to kind of match up to right here. Like I said, where we have
Yep.
buyers already looking at Palantir,
Hmm.
we have this bullish candle here, a healthy pullback, small pullback, and look what we did. We caught support. So one thing that you can look at is the wick of this one, and you can kind of see where price is starting to come to. You can start to look to find your support and resistance based on where price action can take you. So if I just draw a line right here, that's
Hmm.
one support. I don't even have to
Right.
know the exact. Now, if you want it exact, you just look at the candle. So if I hover over this candle, it's going to give me opening, high, low, closing price. So if I want to know support to exact based on whatever candle I want to measure, actually this one would be the one, this little candle right here. Then the high of that candle is 122.75. So I could even make it exact and do
Hmm.
122.75. That's some support. Okay, we've built some support here as well. Like you can see that price is also holding up right about here, and we're just getting wicks under it. And
Yep.
you could play
Exactly.
with your chart. Like you can find your own support and resistance, but the key is to look to the left because had you look to the left, you could start to already plan where we're going to find support. And you can keep looking to the left and you can see how this has been a look. This is all we did Thursday. We just played in this very small range, lost it a little bit for closing. And so if we were to come back here, we're just testing and validating some support. And then obviously if there was anybody trying to get in, they're going to drive that price down because maybe smart money wasn't part of this initial pop up. So maybe there were traders that didn't get in. And so one thing they're going to do is drive price back to try to get in again, especially on some news like that. So you don't have to chase Palantir here, especially
Right.
with these candles. Like, look at these candles. Once you start seeing this formation, and we don't even have our EMAs up yet, you can already say we're getting weaker here. When you see this clutter here, this is getting my attention because this was a smooth drive down, but look what starts to happen at
Hmm.
sideways trading. Well, we know when we get that sideways trading, there's a move that's going to come and it's going to be either up or down. You just got to pay attention to see where we can go. And you don't have to stare at these. You can set you an alert. Like I can click on this line that I've created. I can go here. And so once a bar starts to catch it, my alert is set. I'm going to get a trading view alert that tells me, hey, pay attention. We came to some support that you have plotted out. So instead of chasing, what you do is you plan your trade. I don't want to chase it at the top and then of course it's going to come back in reverse or wow, Palantir pulled in, everybody's playing puts. I want to get in. This would be silly to get in right here. And so practice looking to the left because you can see even just eyeballing some support and resistance, it is pretty spot on.
So I had a question.
Sure.
I put it in chat, but so how far back would you say you need to look on the different time frames? Like I usually play the 15
Hmm.
most of the time, and the one thing that got me was this breakout just made me feel like I was, not paying attention. Does that make sense? Because by the time it got to the second line before it went to the next level at the 130, That's when Webull popped in the news when I saw it and moved over. And by then, I've had trouble trusting the levels because some of them's reversed before it gets to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a struggle for me. Is by the time it got to that fourth green candle on the first pull up, I felt like when I saw that red candle, I was like, I don't need to get in right now. And then that's the fake out right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's, I would say, the fake outs, and then when to get in a move. Because when you pulled your 130, like I said, I might see something higher than that. So when it breaks through multiple levels of resistance at a single pull, that's where it really kind of makes me like I go too high on the strike, or you know what I'm saying? I go way out of range.
Okay, I think I understand your question. A few things that so if I see Palantir making this big move up, and unless I and I did when I seen it happen, I was like, I missed a move, and so I'm not even gonna touch it. But I did start watching it, and so then what I was like, well, where if they're doing all of this so far, where are they going? And it's good, even in your prep, like if you have a stock that you plan to look at. Maybe it's because they have earnings coming up. Maybe there's some news. Maybe you've just noticed that they've been showing some good strength. So you plan your trade. Well, I like to zoom out. I mean, I go as far as the monthly in my prep. And so I'll be all the way out to the monthly just looking to see how we doing. And one signal was price getting above the last month's candle. So we're already holding price above where we closed in April. Good signals. And then you just keep moving down. Like I may not do too much on a monthly chart, but just be aware of the overall trend.
So
And huh,
just to add to what it's great that you pulled up what you did. So see how it went down on the first screen into the fair value gap, then it went back
yes.
higher, came back down lower. So that right there would have been like a bad one for me because I would have went on the first screen candle because of the pullback, and then I would have got stopped out with my stop loss. You know,
So which candle and do you want me to stay on the weekly chart? Like which candle are you saying you would have went with?
the first pullback into the fair value gap right there.
This one?
Yeah. So again, that's something I've struggled with as well. To go into the same discussion is the entry point. When is it a fake out? When is it not? Because this one it did go back, but it went down further, which would have knocked my stop loss, and then it would have kept doing the move higher, like you see. So that's where I'm really struggling is when it doesn't move up, but then the wick comes down and comes back further.
So one thing you want to do is just so once you get a signal, right? Let's
Mhm.
say we're looking at this. This is the week of the 28th, and the next week opening we get price obviously at some point coming back to this fair value gap. I'll have to zoom back out. I mean, I'll have to go down to some smaller time frames. When you're looking at things on the weekly, one thing I will say is when you have a very bullish candle like this one on a weekly chart and an aggressive move, so it is creating a fair value gap. When price comes back to it, especially on the weekly, I love being able to try to catch an entry there. And so your point is, okay, I would have jumped in at the fair value gap, and that week would have stopped me out. So let me just see.
And just
So
to kind
this
of throw that in there, I do about 20% back on my stop loss of whatever I get in at. So again, just eyeballing that, that would have hit my stop loss just going off of the size of the wick into that fair value gap if I went with the
I
full entry.
I would have looked at a halfway point. So did it take out half of that candle? And this is just eyeballing it. Did it take out half of that candle, right? And which it didn't, even when it wicked in a little bit more, it didn't take out half that candle, but that's a pretty aggressive, I mean, that's a big stop loss, but this is considering you're entering on the weekly for a swing trade. But I'm gonna try to find that date. Was that like April 28th or May? Wait, let me go back. Okay, that was, yep, the week of April 28th, and then following week. So I'm gonna just take it to maybe the 4 hour. And what did Palantir do? So it looks like the week of May 6th, they had the drop. Did they drop from earnings? I didn't really trade them for earnings. So earnings was reported on May 5th. Oh yeah. I mean, so they dropped from earnings, it looks like. Because we were looking at the week of the 28th, and it was a continuation from the previous week, creating that fair value gap. And then they pulled all the way back. Oh, I think I do remember this. So Palantir didn't have like that explosive move up on earnings, right?
Yeah, that's what I remember too. And if you go up to the next
Yeah.
fair value gap, that looks like it's around the 15th. See how that green candle went down in there a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, like you're saying, look for an entry that's like that one right there near the end, where it's getting right below the EMA. That would have been if it continued going up. But again, that middle one's probably best because it's wicking off of the EMA. But again, like I said, then it drops down. So there, I've struggled with really following how to gauge. Like, see over to the left, it looks like it's just wicking off of the 9 and the 20.
Yeah, but see what it did? It never broke, it never could hold above this high point, right? So even with this wick, price just never could hold above it. So it did that nice little wick here, but all it did was chop under this significant area. So remember 130, see how 130.33 is standing out? Um, so you have to know like your resistance. So if you're saying, okay, all of this happened and now I'm looking at this fair value gap, resistance is going to be, you can measure it from your most recent high point. So this candle did do it, right? But this is like an all-time high for Palantir. So guess what they're going to do? Take profit.
Yep.
And who's winning is the person that's taking profit and not trying to see how much higher it can go. And so guess what? So if you were here holding and wishing it's going to go more, it just took profit. So I think all of this happened, what it says like 8:30 on Wednesday. So it did a big move and then it just pulled right back down.
I think
And
that follows that rule Sean talked about. Like the further you get away as you're going up from that 9 and 20, it's going to pull back on you to get closer.
there is a theory to, yeah, exactly. So near and far, like we have to come back to our EMA. At some point, Palantir on the 4 hour has to come back to this 200. When that's going to happen, we don't know, but a price will go far away and then eventually it's going to return. It's the same thing as when it has to come back and fill these gaps. Like, see this gap here? Okay, so we were all the way here. Guess what? I may just be looking to see when we're going to start showing signals that we're coming back to close that gap. And we did, and we tested the 200. So there's always going to be these gap fills. It's going to happen. It's more so of a time thing. That's when it's going to happen. And you have to be aware of it. And you have to also know when a stock is getting to their all-time highs, there's just going to be traders taking profit. No one's going to just sit and hold and be the loser because they just want to hold the biggest bag. Take your profit. Maybe you're leaving a runner. That's different with a stop loss, a tight stop loss. But once Palantir got here, you really should have been planning your exit. I think even a lot of the pros were saying, hey, we're hitting some pretty high points. You need to start planning how you exit your trade.
Renee, was this an all-time high or just a high?
I think that was an all-time high for Palantir.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, I think so. Okay, I wanted to make sure before I said what I was gonna say, if I could just throw a recommendation out there, since I think what if you can't understand anything, just know the laws of gravity. What goes up must come down. And so there's going to be a lot of traders that's going to tell you they do not like to chase when we're making new all-time highs on any things. I
Mhm.
understand now. So the what I will be looking for is to play it back down. I will be looking at
Exactly.
retracement on it or something, just knowing it is going to come back down. It's inevitable. So for those who may have missed out on it going up, just catch it back down. It's a lot quicker, easier, and it's coming. Just know it's coming. And it's probably gonna hit soon, like this week soon.
And so that's a very interesting spot they're in because they've come and they've tested breaking this
Mhm.
130. What I would do at this point, and I'm just gonna toss in the auto fib. And so I guess what we could look at, I think, yeah, that's what I had. A squeeze probably to 133.49,
Mm.
maybe your max point. And this is
Mhm.
saying that we broke this 130.33 and we're gonna hold. And so anticipating a squeeze to come challenge this high point right here.
Yep.
And then you just kind of have to plan your trade really with Fib. So if you want to take some time during the weekend to learn Fibonacci, that may be good for you because when stocks get this high, there's no map. Like when SPY broke their highs and start making all-time highs, the only way I was able to follow was using Fib to kind of predict where else they can go. And it works out pretty good. So
It
maybe
does.
the squeeze is 133.49, but if we're not breaking the high of this candle, then yeah, we're going to come back and we're going to have to test all this support. Now there'll be a pretty aggressive fair value gap that was created, but that's where you plan your entry to see if we start getting a reversal. So if, let's say I get a pullback to a fair value gap from this move right here, right, or this candle right here, then I need to then zoom to a smaller time frame to watch for my entry. And that's all I would be doing. Because I mean, who doesn't want in the Palantir with the deals they're getting? You just want in at the best price. So if you are already taking profit, now it's just a rinse and repeat. And you just have your runners doing the work for, I guess, what you can call a bonus. So yeah, Palantir was a good example. What you always want to do is once you see price coming back to a fair value gap, especially on a higher time frame, that's when you go down to lower time frames to kind of plan your entry point. And the same thing just will just always apply. Like just make sure it makes sense to start taking calls. It makes sense if you're looking at it from the 15-minute once we started holding at the 200, once we were meeting the support because we're looking at the left. And then once we started jumping above our EMAs, it just was really a beautiful trade. And I like this arc, so I follow my arcs on the wolf chart, and then that's what gets me into my signals. And so all of these things coming together, if you're just simply looking at candles, get familiar with candlestick patterns because it was giving signals here and it was giving signals here of what was going to happen. Okay, that was the Palantir chart. I think that was a good example. Let me catch up with chat. Got some things going on. Which candle would
Um,
you have entered?
I saw a few other NVIDIA test, well, TSLL, were a couple other tickers.
Okay. Wolf try to eat. It shows your entry. It's always after the floating candle, and the play usually runs after that. Which candle would you have entered? On Palantir for calls? It would have been when my I follow EMA. Like I need to make sure that my EMAs are giving me confirmation. Like I need to make sure we've hit some support. I need to make sure that it all makes sense before I just jump into a play. So none of these candles going down would have said go ahead and grab your calls. Once we hit a 200, then I'm watching because if you follow D Fresh, he talks about the 200 is pretty significant. And so once we're getting price right here, then I'm watching, I'm paying attention because I want this to actually start to show price holding at my 200. Because there just been times when we're trading under it, and that's all going to give us signals that we're still weak. Even if we're above the 12, overall under the 200, price has just kind of been weak right here. And then we get the break. We come back and confirm that price pretty quickly. I wasn't expecting it to do all that just as fast. But all they did was come grab some liquidity and then that's the move. Okay, let me see what other ticks. Somebody said Uber, but let me scroll up. Selena, what were some other ones?
NVIDIA, TSLL,
Okay,
those were like the first couple of few ones.
all right, NVIDIA.
And while you're doing that, can you add in? So you see how these swing order blocks or the internals pop up?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to like? It feels like it comes in. I mean, that's a dead giveaway when I see that we're going down at least further or up further. It seems like there's a delay in that sometimes showing up way after the move. And I mean, this
Like,
like this
uh-huh.
one's not a good example because, like I said, it's got such a large move down at one time. But I've seen it where it'll wick a couple times, like maybe 3 to 4 times, which, like you showed, was a liquidity setup. So, and I've seen it go right through those internal order blocks, not following that, coming back to it 2 or 3 times before it breaks.
I may not understand fully, but I do know that what happens is it'll pop in and out because we're trying to either break it or it's kind of being created because of the move that's starting to happen. But in a smaller time frame, the way price action can crush through these, it just has to have the right amount of buyers, and then they just start popping back. But even in theory, like if Nvidia comes and breaks out of this order block, they have to come back and test it. Technically, if you can see, I had this pre-high from I think their earnings. They did already, in theory, in pre-market break it. Now the question is, can they come back up to it and clear it off? And then if they do, we got a smooth rise to start to, well, I say smooth, but when you see the higher time frames, you know that all up in this area, we are pretty choppy with Nvidia trying to get and break out of this zone and really start to make a new high, like all-time high. Overall, though, when I see those coming in, I do want to make sure and confirm that they're actually either being broken because that wick could have cleared it and then we just went right back down on it. So it's something to watch. Nvidia is in a very interesting space. They never do the big move that everyone anticipates with earnings, in my opinion. I mean, they get a nice gap up, but we see stocks that you would think Nvidia would do at that move like $20, $40, on the earnings. I don't know. I don't get that out of Nvidia. I've always found their earnings to be pretty blah. But in this case, the winners in Nvidia was everyone that was not afraid to pull the trigger when it was down at these prices here. This is where you're winning, right? Like Nvidia was here in February. And then this pullback that most of the market was doing, right, through April was giving a lot of buying opportunity. Almost like this is all great opportunities to start nibbling on a company like Nvidia. And you got to start asking yourself, like, when do you start to buy into Nvidia? So to me, in my opinion, everybody that won were those that started to build their positions, knowing that earnings was coming up. And so if you're always trying to figure out what's a good earnings play, it's really starting to know when is the next earnings and waiting on some healthy pullbacks to get in and start planning a trade for earnings because they do run pre-earnings pretty well. So the thing with Nvidia in April is that they came back to an order block on the daily chart. And for me on my chart, the darker it is, the more significant and stronger it is. So we came back to an order block that was created in 2024. April of 2024. So it's almost like full circle. They did it again where they tested this area in August of 2024 when most stocks had that pullback. And then here we did it again. And so price got as low as what was our low? 86.62. So if you're looking to plan trades, sometimes, especially for people looking to swing, when you start to get into these bullish order blocks where we know from historical, again, looking to the left, you got to start asking yourself, is it a safe point to buy into some positions? And then you just take it to a smaller time frame and start planning some entries. So here is a little bit of a risk because we don't have on the daily chart price above the EMAs, but if you take it down, you're probably starting to see some signals that we can start buying. But I would have not hesitated here to buy into Nvidia. Now, honestly, again, I say it all the time is that everyone that won was those that started to buy low, not those chasing it right here. Because then were you really impressed with the earnings move? It ran right into an order block that's been here for quite some time that they still need to clear from this year. And so that's the story on Nvidia is that, I mean, it was to be anticipated that they were going to pull back. And so I'm not jumping into a trade right here because I know that they're going to react to this and then let them cool off. Let them find the support they need to find. I do like that they're above 135. Did they close above one? Yeah, 135.13 was the closing price on the daily. I do like that signal, and I do think though it could, if buyers pop back in now that it's pulled back a bit, that they could probably test around here again and maybe try to clear that. But you're not buying here, guys. You're not trying to build a position where bulls are going to meet the bears and duke it out. Your position should have been here, maybe when we broke the 200. Your positions were definitely here in some of these confirmations when we're reclaiming the 12 EMA and holding. Your positions are not here. And that's where we get the biggest disappointment. So yeah, you can do some day trades and all of this, but you're still going to have in the back of your mind, we're literally duking it out on a daily chart because we know that Nvidia has struggled here and we've had selling pressure here. We hit here, big gap down, hit here, sold off. So when we come back, again, from full circle, you got to expect that reaction because we haven't really come back to truly challenge this area yet. Any questions on that breakdown?
Yes, I have a question.
Mhm.
Excuse me, I'm not familiar with the wolf chart. I've seen it on the video, but not in practice much. So when you talk about order blocks, if you could kind of just explain what that is, and then the red and the green, is that like supply and demand, or is that the order blocks that you're talking about?
So I'm going to take the wolf chart off just so you can kind of see it maybe from what you're used to. Now, these are just EMAs that I have, right? I have the 200, and then you'll see how I use it on the wolf chart. This is a 200, I have the 20 and the 9. And so looking at it from the daily, let's say you don't have the wolf chart, right? But you still can train your eyes to understand where we're going to meet sellers. And you really can just look at it from these candles here. Like it's just once we hit here, pull back. We hit here, even more significant gap down. And we really started to create lower highs, market structure. And so when you understand market structure, until we start to break and hold some highs, like even when we came here on NVIDIA, if we didn't break this high, we're not really getting the best signal. And look what happened. They couldn't break the high when we're looking to the left and sell off. So you can come in and to get your order blocks for yourself, right? Like let's just say we build one. We put our own order block into the chart and we build it like this. You're still going to see the same thing. I mean, we can make it red. We can fill it red. Look what we have. We have we know that when price on NVIDIA comes back here, because of how much of a heavy area we've seen sell off, we're
Mhm.
going to get the sell off reaction. Because until we clear this, when price is here, you kind of got to be very careful with your trades. And because, you know, smart money, smart traders, smart investors have built their positions here, anything they have running here is just truly runners. And so they're safe to see if the Bears and the who's going to win this battle here. That's a pretty significant battle because I mean, look at every time we've come.
Yeah.
And so that's how you can measure it. You look to see and you look to the left, and it's even more significant in higher time frames to see where we have the most selling pressure. And so this is where we're at. So you're not going to want to buy as someone new into NVIDIA. Again, you could have caught a day trade because I think if we take the day after their earnings, which was the 29th, that would have been the 29th. If we take it to, let's say, the 5-minute on the 29th. So what did we do at opening? Because I didn't even follow it. I was annoyed with the market because we were so high. We were so rich uh, overnight, and then news and Trump news, it just
Yeah.
but so look, okay, so this is us. So this is opening on the 29th, the pullback. So if you're an inexperienced trader and you're excited because NVIDIA is opening right here, you have no clue that we have a lot of selling pressure, then you're jumping in. I'm ready. NVIDIA is looking good. They had a good earnings. No, I think even Chris says this on the video, you have to wait for the pullback. And so
Mhm.
even if he may have misspoke on timing and couldn't time what news was also impacting the market, you have to be able to go in your chart and say, okay, one, I know this is this is where bears are sitting. This is where bears are waiting. Another thing I know is that when a stock has a gap up, they got to come test some support. So we don't have to chase it at a high. And the thing with NVIDIA is it really never gave a signal to get back into calls yet. Now, I do like that they closed at the 135. So I'll be watching them for next week to see like what moves they make. But again, we as traders, if we plan and we are aware before we make our moves, we already knew that this was a lot of selling pressure. There's no reason to go ahead and jump right away. You want the cool off. And if you look at a lot of stocks that have had big earnings gap up, then you're going to get that cool off. And if you follow Mario, one of the things that I love that he was teaching us was the Anchor VWAP. And so what I like to do is pop up. I didn't want it to go there. I like to toss the Anchor VWAP on earnings, right? You can make it whatever color you want to so it keeps your attention. I even do it on my wolf chart. And so my wolf chart has my Anchor VWAP, but I still want to know based on earnings, I want to follow a very specific Anchor VWAP. And at no point from that Anchor VWAP from their earnings gap up did they reclaim it. So that's another signal that it just was not giving what we needed. We get the bearish crossover where the 200 comes in over your shorter time frames for your EMAs. It just wasn't giving jumping into calls. So I'm sorry for those that did. This is where you have to learn the charts, because you would have knew all this and you would have said, to be smart, I need NVIDIA to find some support. So that's the story on NVIDIA. But I just want to take the wolf chart off for a second so you can see, like, even so, like, just there's no signal to get into calls.
So because I'm looking at investing in the wolf chart, I was just
Mhm.
trying to understand what the red and the green blocks are. Are those like supply and demand? So the red is where the sellers are hanging out and the green is where the buyers are hanging out. Is that
Exactly.
okay?
Yeah.
I'm really good understanding the drawing the support and the resistance. I even understand the VWAP a little bit. I didn't know that you could use the anchored VWAP from earnings, though. Is
I
it
love it.
what so how far back do you go? You just go to the previous earnings, the most current previous earning? And
Yeah, I know some people that'll have a few earnings VWAPs running, or even just a major gap up. So let's say a stock got good news, like let's say Palantir had good news. I'm gonna just quickly go back to the Palantir chart for a second. And if we just measured an Anchor VWAP just at the opening, let's just say I just want to see that opening because they do have this pretty bullish opening. All right, so price stayed above. Did it go away? Did I move it? Maybe I did. Oh, well, let me clear it. Hold on, let me hide my pro for a second. And then, okay, so you see my Anchor VWAP, this purple, right?
yeah.
And then look at it. So we pull back from the opening candle. Like you can take an Anchor VWAP to your opening candle, and then we get price pulling back. So that's just kind of another clue, like, you don't need to do anything. But look, if we followed even the Anchor VWAP and we didn't have, I'll just hide it all. We don't have anything on our charts. This out my way. And we just look at this Anchor VWAP. No EMAs, right? Look what we're doing. Okay. We
Yeah.
know 130, 33 because we went to look at a higher time frame to kind of see, or we look to the left. Probably better to go use a higher time frame, but see, you can find your area, right? So this is kind of where I end up getting that price. I don't even know if it's exactly that, but it's close enough. Okay, we reclaimed the Anchor VWAP. That's good. We lost the Anchor VWAP. That's not looking good. And then we came right back to it. And so even if you were just getting in around 127, you still got a few dollars of a squeeze just following Anchor VWAP. So there's all kind of methods that you can use. The thing with the wolf chart is I'm going to have an Anchor VWAP. So all I do is add in the bonus to it, which is just following an earnings VWAP. Just something I've enjoyed doing because I do like to catch post earning plays.
In that case, could you look at Dave next? I'm not sure. They ran up pretty big.
And you said it was Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll add that one. So I'm gonna get off NVIDIA because I think the story is you really want to just follow confirmation to when we're gonna find the support that we need to, and then look to see when buyers start to jump back in. So this is a healthy pullback. We want that pullback because remember, they're duking it out at a certain level with bears. And so now, as a trader, just from this session, you now know that you have to go find where bears are going to be positioned, right? Like you have to go find that for yourself, even if you don't have the wolf chart, to know that I'm going to hit sellers and I need to find those on even higher time frames just so I know overall the higher the time frame, the more significant those bullish and bearish order blocks will be for you. Someone said, was it Uber? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, TSLL. I think this person said they were down in calls. Is that right, Selena?
Oh, me. So,
Okay.
so
Tell me your story.
okay, so I think it was sometime last week. Chris was talking about I played TSLO because I have a small account and I can't pay Tesla. So he was saying how it's most likely gonna go to 20. He mentioned 718 as the expiration, kind of I guess a swing, right? So I got in at the levels that was suggested between 13 and a 15 call.
Mm-hmm.
So it went up and then I was still in it, and I think this was Friday. It came down like right around when Trump and Elon spoke. And so I tried to get some advice. And the advice I got was, you know, right when it hit about 15.50 to $15 that I should have got out, right? So I ended up getting out at around like 14.98 or something like that. And then I just waited until it got a little lower and I got back in it for a call. And so I'm still holding it for that 718 expiration. So I just wanted your thoughts on it.
The thing with TSLL and with it running with the Tesla chart is look what we did on Tesla. We ran right into sellers. Kind of same story as NVIDIA. This was positioned in February, right? So again, I know that because I'm looking to the left. And being that we had this order block, right? I'm already knowing I'm not going to touch Tesla right here. And so you kind of bought in, I guess the same, you just I don't know. I followed a Tesla chart for TSLL. And so I knew that I would know that Tesla's going to react to this area because this has been here since February. And so that's all it did. It did what it was supposed to do. And you're just literally in a battle between bulls and bears. And Tesla simply has to break the high of 367.34. To be very honest, I don't see why they wouldn't. So maybe this is a really good, healthy reaction. Like we have to anticipate that because
Yeah.
before you take your trades, plan this. You have to know where we got those sellers. So look what happened. We got here, pull back. And so coming back full circle, you got to anticipate that we're going to meet some bears that probably could still be positioned here. When we break it, it's going to be really nice. I do see Tesla breaking it as long as this robo-taxi. I don't know what the date is for robo-taxi. Anyone know? I think that's why Chris is saying get in because yeah, I think they're going to break this and it's just going to be toppy here because look what we're doing. We have a fair value gap right wedged in with a bearish order block. They're going to duke it out. So I would just set my alert to say, hey, if I'm not already in TSLL or Tesla, either one you want to trade, just set your alert that, hey, when Tesla gets to 367.34, I'm going to just go ahead and do it while I'm talking about it.
Is there a way that I can like monitor? Like I said, I'm new, right? So is there a way for me to be able, because I've been hearing that too, that Tesla impacts TSLL, right? Because essentially they're the same thing. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how I can monitor the both of them? Is there like a way to overlay them on TradingView or
There
um
is.
I
See
don't
this compare right here? You can overlay it like this. And so now we should get an overlay of what Tesla's doing following TSLL. I
so
don't like this view.
I don't like it. It's
So
scary,
I'm
but
gonna show, yeah, I'm gonna show you just if it's what did I just do? It's
so I can
just
like figure out how to read it. Like because I'm so new, I'm trying to
do this.
focus on, oh, how did you do that?
So you see this? It's gonna look like this, right? It's gonna look like a little square. I don't know if you can see because I have this weird thing in my view from Zoom. Let's see if I can move that.
It
So
says,
it's right here,
mhm,
layup set up. So there's two charts you want to follow because maybe like even late, I think a new one that came out is Carvana now has a the same similar deal as TSLL following Tesla. And so if you want to follow the charts and plan your entry on TSLL, you could take this and then split your screen. And there's all kind of ways you can split your screen depending on how many charts you want to look at. It makes sense to then do it like this. Now you have your Tesla. So then I'm just going to go change this to Tesla. And so now I can follow Tesla. And so it may not look well, I mean, even if that order block, you can see it. This is selling pressure right here, resistance.
mhm. My resistance
And
top.
I must have mapped out TSLL at some point. So I'm just going to leave that one alert on my TSLL chart. And then I'm going to pop in Pro here. And then as you can see, when I add my Wolf Chart Pro, which has my historical support and resistance, then I as a trader know that TSL ran right into some significant resistance. And
Mhm.
the thicker the line, even though they were trying to reclaim the 200, we're gonna have some challenges here. And so the cleanest trade is going to be when we start to break this resistance and then we can move on this bounce right here. And it will be a nice trade. So that's when patience comes in. And so if we're getting a healthy pullback, you can plan your entry based on a healthy pullback or a confirmation because we break and hold above this resistance. And then you get this nice open space until we reach the next order block. And even better, if we clear this and you have all this nice open space here. So patience is what's going to pay. And so when you know that you're running into resistance and always know where your nearest resistance is, because that's truly your strike price. Nearest resistance from where I enter is my strike price. That's the best strike price. Even if you don't get in the money, if you get to the nearest resistance as your strike price, you're going to be good with your trade. And then you set your stop loss and follow that as well. So yeah, you can split your screen up if you don't know.
I got in at around, I got a strike price of 15 this time.
15. When did you enter? Was it yesterday?
It was after I sold, so yes, it was yesterday. On the dip, like I sold at 14.98
Mm-hmm.
and I think it went down. I bought the contract at 2.65, $2.65. So um it was still like hovering around 15. It hadn't gone above 15. So I got in at a strike for a call at $15 when it was around that level. If that makes
Okay, well then I think what's going to happen is, if anything, we may test this a little bit more of a gap right here, maybe this support, but ultimately I don't want to be too bearish on Tesla because honestly, Robotaxi could be that buy the news, right? And then at the time of the event, they'll sell it off. So, but you can see why we're challenged. We have this issue here. Breaking it, that's going to give you your signal. So I don't know what a June contract, you said a July contract, and the sentiment is
July
that
8th.
we anticipate a move up if you're going to be bearish. I wouldn't I would be careful. Just make sure that if anything, I probably might even average in as to try to get out with profit rather than sell at a loss. It just depends on the stock. The issue here is that we're I don't like to encourage dollar cost average, but there just may be times when I'm truly serious about the move that I see happening that I will dollar cost average. It's rare because I just don't believe in buying into a losing trade, but it has worked when I just know for sure I just maybe had a bad entry.
So that's
Um,
what the
uh-huh.
was like. The advice was wait for the pullback like I did and re-enter. And what did you call it? Average down or something. And then if it doesn't hold above 1398, but I didn't
Mhm.
have that level on my um like my back testing. I didn't have that level. I had like the 1498 level, but I didn't have like that lower level.
What was the lower level? And I see your hand raised. I don't know for that. I'll get you next. What was the lower level that you had?
He said 1398. And I had like right where you are, where that between 14 I had that 1490 something, and then I had one a little bit lower, like where yours are. But I didn't have a 1398 as a level. And I'm like, I don't know if I, you know,
And maybe, I mean, we're sometimes we may not always match up exactly
he might
with
have
it.
bigger risk tolerance than I do, right? Something like that.
Yeah, sometimes remember we're working with small accounts, so we're
I
gonna lose
really
small. Chris
like,
may have a little bit more of a different tolerance for losses. I'm mad at $10. So
yeah,
um it just is again, you have to manage your risk based on your portfolio size. You can't go in even if his stop loss is set somewhere else, if you know that's too much for you, you gotta know when to cut your trade based on your portfolio. Especially if we're not banging with like thousands and maybe millions. We're going to be
yeah,
managing our risk. And even so, even if you have more money, you still don't want to lose too big. So becoming a smart loser is how you win the game. I'll have some hands raised. I don't know who was first, but I have
thank you.
A757 rep. You're welcome.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So I just have a question about the break and hold. So specifically, like I'm looking for that on smaller time frames often.
Hmm.
What would you consider the hold, like on a 15 minute or a 5 minute? Like how many candles would you say have to hold above before you are confident that it's going to hold?
I look for, I'm trying to think of one that maybe we can go back to the Palantir chart. And a few things I'm gonna do with Palantirs for your question. All right, so give me a second. I'm gonna take the pro offer. All right, so what I have and something else that Sean has added in for the Wolf traders is pre-market high and low. So basically, one thing that you do want to look at, because honestly, since I've added his tip following pre-high and low, it's been working out for me. And so one thing that you can look at is the high and the low from pre-market. So this is your pre-market window here. And then you can find the high of it and the low of it. So that's this box here. And so I'll just grab these levels here and then I take it to regular extended hours. But what I really want to show here is the example of a break and a hold. So if I was looking at this as my pre-market high, and when we opened at 8:30, we already had broke that, right? Okay, what if I jumped in here because we broke it? You want the break and the retest, okay? When the retest fails, you expect that it either will hold and we bounce or it's going to pull back more. And now you got to wait to see where we do find support. You look for your break and your retest of whatever resistance that you're following. So we break it, we come back to retest it, we don't hold it. When we come back and break it again, we're off for the races because that was our retest. We come back to it again, we still can look at this as support and we need to hold it. So yeah, they're playing this game of stop loss here. In my opinion, they did a really nice liquidity sweep and they came right back above it. It's following your EMAs and you can get right back in. Always anticipate a break and a recess. And then even here, if I looked at this level right here, previous week high, That just means that at some point we had a high point of a week right here. It's another level of resistance, basically. We break it, we come back and retest it. It's confirmed to be solid support. We bounce. So you're looking for a break. And even if you miss this, it has to come back and test some support eventually. It failed it at this point, and then it just kept failing the different levels of support all the way down to a key area where buyers were ready to buy in again. So you're looking for a break and a retest. It looks like a breakout, pull back, bounce. And sometimes the bounce will be even more higher because you're measuring it to the left.
Okay, so on the retest where it held, I guess I think that's around like 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I guess would price action tell you that it's holding here? Because yeah, right in that area. Oftentimes, like I'm waiting to see if it holds there, and then I get like left behind in the play because while I'm waiting to see if it holds, like it takes back off. So like, what could give me more confidence or tell me that it's definitely going to hold, or that I know not definite, but that it should hold.
I will say that we can't 100% predict, right? Because we see even news can just shoot something in a whole different direction. But what would help then is following your other confirmations. So there's a few things from my wolf chart that would tell me I'm good. One, I'm in a position where buyers are holding strong. There's just a lot of buy-in here. That's my first signal that I don't, unless we're going to start falling further and further below that price area right here. Oh, even if you did ORB, right? Selena will tell you about ORB. Even if we just follow ORB, then we know that ORB is the high and the low of the opening candle. We came stop loss hunting right here, a nice pop. And then we came right back because I'm sure people wanted to get in big money if they didn't get all their positions in. They want to come back and get into Palantir. So we did it right back here. And then we pulled back, grabbed all that liquidity, and then we did a huge bounce, even breaking a significant high point. So if you're looking to get in, me and everyone else that's trading the same chart, I get this inverse arc. That's my clue. I love this arc. That's my first signal. Then I got to look to see once I get this inverse arc, what other confirmations could help me to decide on my trade. Look where my EMAs are, and they all start to cross up. So even if I didn't say I got in here and I just start to get in when we do all of this, I'm good. So follow your EMAs as well. Like, when we were getting these little green candles here, I'm sure there were people just looking at green candles and thinking, okay, we got support and jumping in. And guess what? You're not in a good trade because if you're following all confirmations with the wolf chart, we knew that we were selling off here. We got an arc. But you get all your confirmations, we're coming all the way down. Where do we come to? One is going to be that 200. So I encourage you, I don't care if you use a 200 weighted moving average and any other 200 is always just pretty significant to me in the charts. So I like it. We come back to it, we're kind of dipping under it, but we're right at buyers. So you gotta layer in your confirmation. So no matter what your style of trading is, you gotta know all of the boxes that I have set for myself, check off to tell me to enter this trade.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. There was someone else with their hand raised. I don't know if they still do. Amanda, did
Hi,
I get
how
you?
are
Hey,
you?
Amanda. Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
I have some questions. I was wondering how to, so I don't have a subscription to TradingView, but I was wondering if you could, I don't know how to get all of your lines. Like the
Okay.
EMA. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, okay. So you're asking how to set your chart up.
Yes, thank you. I didn't realize that's what I was asking, but yes, because I'm using, I don't know, like the other thing is I feel like I just want to get into your brain, but read the book, the big book of stocks secrets or
Mhm.
strategies. So that's where my information is coming from. And so like I know you have, like you were just talking about EMA, and then I was also wondering how you were able to predict Palantir Palantir and Nvidia going up. Like you said, this was nice art down here. When you see it, starting to reverse.
Mhm.
And then I don't know what these lines are that you were using. I'm assuming that it's EMA and volume and uh what else?
No, I
What
get your question. Like how you're asking basically how is all this on my chart? And we can start with the EMAs. And another good thing, guys, is just use Chat GPT. I
okay.
talk to Chat GPT all the time. So like even if when I'm saying terminology that you don't understand, just go to Chat GPT. Whenever I was learning, every time someone says something, even liquidity, I was like, what the heck is that? As a new trader. And then I just went back into YouTube and I started I'm gonna share my favorite YouTube channel too, in Discord, just as a reminder, where I like to learn a lot at. Um, but so I have my EMAs, and if we just look at EMAs for a second, so I'm going to take off the wolf chart because, well, and let me ask you this too. What are you using to trade on? How are you charting? Like what tool are you using? I mean, I guess
The
website.
well, I was using E-Trade only because I had it for like 20 years and I just started
Hmm.
trading again, but I just opened a Schwab account.
Okay,
Is that what you mean? I haven't played with it
that's
yet.
your brokerage. I have my brokerage account through Webull and Fidelity. But I still do most of my charting, if not all of it. Sometimes I play with Webull through TradingView. And so there's paid subscription and then there's just the free subscriptions, which gives you
Oh,
access to a few indicators. So what we're doing is we're just adding indicators. So you can go here to
okay.
indicators and then you can add. But just to layer in the basics of what a lot of people tend to use, they use like I have the 9, the 20, 220, because sometimes when I'm doing like just one-on-ones, some people are just using these. So then I want to be able to see the chart they see. And it's
Do
pretty
you mind if
basic.
I screenshot that? Is
Yeah.
that's what you said you're using? So
So no, my EMAs specifically are based off of a charting system that I pay for. And it
oh,
comes with a Discord access. So with the system, I'm in a specific Discord trading with other traders using it. Now, it's still so even if you don't have this, what I want you to understand is the very basic concept of whatever EMA you're using. There are different traders that like different EMAs. Mine specifically is the 12 EMA and then the 200 weighted moving average. And with that, there's two significant things that you want to pay attention to. Price above and price below. And that's like almost like a very basic explanation of this. Because if you look at this chart and if you look at when price is below my 12 EMA, even if it comes back and tries to break it, if we're holding under, I'm confident in my put. Okay, when we start to break above it, well, one, I need to start to see that price is trying to reverse with my candlestick pattern. So, Amanda, if you're not familiar with candlesticks, that may be another good study point for you, is just to look at the clues of just the basic candlesticks. Because it was weak here, based on even candlestick clues, it's weak here as well. When you start to see that sellers are getting weak and we're in a position where we know buyers have already come in before. So it's puts
okay.
below your EMA, and when you're above, you can go into your calls. The next layer is if I jump into calls, where are we going, right? I need to know also what my targets are. And so that's why I encourage everyone to have a checklist of what you're going to do if you enter this trade. No, actually a checklist that tells you that entering this trade makes sense. So, okay, I trade off the wolf chart. What are my confirmations off the wolf chart that tell me that I should get in this trade, right? Okay, there's a few different things. If I layer it all in, one, I get an arc. So as soon as I see this playing out, and even if I don't watch it, I can set an alert on the wolf chart and I can say, tell me when price is starting to cross. So I can go in, make a alert for myself that tells me that this EMA is going to cross, because one thing that you don't want to do if you don't have to is stare at a chart. So even if you're just setting support and resistance lines and setting a signal, a lot of times I don't look at a chart until I get a signal to get into it. So now I have an alert. Okay, boom. So when this happened, I would have got a signal saying, hey, this is happening and you wanted me to alert you. So TradingView alerts me. When I get into that trade, I need to know where are we going. Well, I know if I take the trade at the inverse arc on my wolf chart, again, it does not matter if you have the wolf chart or not. What is your signal? What is your confirmation? This is mine. The next thing I need to know is where are my other EMAs? Where is my 12 EMA and where is my 200 position? They're right here. So I know that I may need to be careful and I may just want to watch that we break it before I enter the trade. I'm getting confirmations. What was another confirmation for me? Well, now we're breaking a trend line on my chart. So have a checklist of what your confirmation system is and follow your rules. What is your risk management rules? Like, I need to cut this trade at a certain point. What is that? I need to know that before I take the trade. Mario, even Shine go by a ATR stop loss. And I love that because that's a very helpful stop loss approach. Now, I'm going to actually stop here with this. Selena, did you want to kind of give some of your tips? Because I want to make sure that with the lives that you're doing and your trading style, you get to kind of share some things. Because I think Amanda's question is truly like, how do I build my chart setup in my system?
Yeah, and I was just actually chatting, putting a statement in there for those who wanted a wolf chart. Message Sean in the Discord. But if you're not ready for that, because I know some of you guys are extremely new and
Oh,
just
and
probably just
I'm sorry,
overwhelmed.
Selena. You could take over too if you want to share a chart.
I'm actually on mobile, so mine probably
Okay.
won't look that great.
Okay. Navigate if you want me. Tell me if you need me to go anywhere.
Okay. So, well, actually, I might be able to, but I was going to just say for something a little more simplified until you can get a little bit more acclimated, you're just looking for like a support and resistance and just some EMAs to kind of get you started. So you can at least map out some good support and resistance. I'll go over that in my chart setup. And then you don't even have to pay for the TradingView subscription. However, I would encourage people as you go along in this, you will need that. But this is just like starting out stuff. I taught a bunch of teenagers to do the same thing that's using it on Yahoo. So it's just like a beginner
Selena,
phase.
can I ask you, so I am using TradingView. I don't have a subscription. So Wolf is separate or is it within TradingView?
No,
The Wolf
Wolf
is different. It's like a
different.
subscription. So basically you pay a monthly fee to the Wolf chart. What it does is it gives you this system. It gives you access to the Discord through your monthly subscription. And there's even a special chat GPT that we use that is I can go to my Wolf GPT and ask my tool that Sean created for us, hey, here's this chart. Tell me based on my wolf chart system how to manage or plan out this trade. There's just so much you can do with it, but that's what it gives you access to. It is a monthly subscription, but it's totally different. The subscription to TradingView changes your access to different indicators. Like, I mean, I think I have one of the higher access, I forgot what my subscription is, but I pay like a one-time fee at a discount. And so I can add quite a few indicators, but I believe if you have a more simplified or what is it, like the free version, there's just it's just less indicators you can use, which is okay. You want to just more so make sure that you know which I don't know. I like EMAs. I don't know if anyone trades differently. I mean, I know some people that will go in and just follow FIB. That's cool too. But otherwise, you can just add in your key EMAs. It's a different thing.
Okay, up here on your, it looks like you're in TradingView, but then on the top right there, it says Wolf 2.0. So that's why I was wondering how you got that to integrate.
Oh, okay. So, well, the system itself is the indicator. So I am privately invited to the indicator I pay for. Now,
Oh,
with there's just so you can have different charts set up. I think I had one where I'm just truly playing around with Fibonacci, so it doesn't have wolf. So you can save different chart setups.
Oh, okay. You know what? I
Mhm.
apologize. I'm probably more of a newbie. I have to explore, I'll explore TradingView some more. I didn't realize that
There's a
was
lot
out
to it.
there.
Here's a
Yeah,
tip.
okay.
If anyone doesn't know, TradingView has their own YouTube channel. And so even if you're trying to understand tools here, just go to their YouTube channel. It's gonna have a lot of your answers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Renette, can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
So I paid for the one-time thing before he started the subscription. Which one do you use? Do you use the 2.1 or the other one?
I am on 2.0, which you can probably still have
Oh, sorry.
2.0.
I have
I'm not
both
on the
of them,
original.
but they
Okay.
look different. So I'm trying to figure out which one do you use.
I use 2.0. Now message me, maybe we can compare. There were upgrades that went with the subscription change.
Mhm.
So that may be the difference. There may be some layers that were added on. I don't think that would be a difference. So just message me. We can compare charts and see maybe what's different for yours. But I have the 2.0.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And then you also want to make sure with it that if there's signaling any updates, you have to delete it and then add it back, and it'll incorporate any updates that were made to the chart system.
Okay.
All right, what's some other questions? I'm sorry, there were a few stocks that you guys wanted. If I don't go over stocks, I'm still gonna post a YouTube video, so don't worry about that. I'll just grab some of what was shared here.
One of
But
them
any
was,
other questions?
I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
I
Go
was
ahead.
saying one of them was Dave because I know they had a huge run up, but they ran up so high that they didn't really have any resistance or order blocks that were indicating a sell, at least not on my chart.
Am I on the right chart, Dave? This?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Just another example that let's go to a bigger time frame. So what was your question again about Dave?
Oh, sorry. They had such a huge run up that it wasn't really, it looked like it was about to form an arc, saying it was going down, but they didn't have really too much resistance area since they had that huge run up.
They have a lot of
I
more
see.
room to run up. This was a pretty significant break, right? Because a few things happened. They just sideways traded for all of 2023, then created a new level, I guess that you could say that they traded for 2024, gapped up here. And so they've been sideways in this box. Now, mind you, this box is a tradable box, but we're looking at it from the monthly. They did a really significant break with this candle here, but you can see their all-time highs are, what is it? All the way up to 400. So almost 500. I mean, so they're just getting started if they're going to make any moves. So did they have good earnings? What was the story? Yeah. Wow. Look at that. They definitely beat earnings. And revenue was also a nice beat. They got a price target upgrade. So they got a lot of interest because of how they just crushed earnings. It was crazy. That's a really nice earnings report. So then what would we look at? There's definitely going to be some take profit because you got to look at how long it's been since they've been that high, right? That's one signal that they, so let's go to earnings. Let me slow down. It was pre-market on Thursday. So then for me personally, might as well just wait to see when it comes back to this fair value gap. I mean, you could catch some nice small time frame trades here, but the earnings report was great. And let me look at their last earnings report. They beat here as well. This was just a very insane beat. So I'll add them to my watch list. Now, personally, what I want is a fair value gap entry of if I'm gonna do any type of swing trade on them. So the lower the better. And so if we get an arc, that's cool. Let it pull back. I think support needs to hold at 201.45. That's this high right here. It did wick through it a little bit and kind of closed under it. But otherwise, a healthy pullback to test this anchor VWAP, to test this 12 EMA, is welcome because I mean their earnings report was so good and they've been crushed down for so long. If you just look back to the left, you can map out a trade, but I wouldn't chase it until we know for sure we got a signals that they found some support after this run up. Because we got to expect take profits at this high because people have been invested since here, right? Like 106. So this gap up here, they're going to want to take some of their profits now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, look at
I
their
thought
highs from January and February. It was up to 491 at one point.
January.
Yeah, or February. Let me see. February
Was that?
1st, 22.
I was gonna say that must be some years back. Yeah, I saw like they can go. Their all-time high is at 491.07. The fact that they're getting these very bullish candle and nice reactions and two green earnings, then I think what'll happen is there's gonna be some pullback and take profit. But then people are gonna be paying attention to their next earnings. So from a healthy pullback, you can plan a trade and swing with the proper confirmations all the way to their next earnings. And so if you're planning it like that, August 6th would be kind of where you want to swing out. But let it cool off. You don't have to rush into it because ideally with the news and the upgrades and their and just the earnings beats, a nice fair value gap entry and healthy
It's coming.
pullbacks is coming and that's where you want to get in at.
Hey, Renette.
Hey.
Quick question. Lily, Eli Lilly. I know you love the art confirmation, and I'm trying to learn entry on it. Sometimes I get confused because it seems to be at a consolidation period. And so I'll get a float candle, but then it'll pull back still within that demand zone. So I just kind of like to know the way that you actually play the arc entry. And I think Lily is one that's kind of sitting in a demand order block right now.
Lily has just been a yo-yo, but I mean it's profitable up and down. Look at all these levels I had set up with some alerts. Clean this up because I do need to rechart Lily after that little pop they had. Okay, so then I think you're talking about this confirmation here probably.
Yeah,
Did the can
that tripped me up right there because the crossover did actually happen, but then it pulled back deeply. And I know that I'm thinking the 12 would have been the take profit area, but all of that was happening right around the same time. So I did
Which
scalp
candle
a little
did you get
bit.
in on?
I scalped it a little bit and it wasn't a complete I didn't lose. I just took a little profit. I got in at break of which one did I get in on? I think I was on an hourly. And so wherever that red candle touched the 12, I scalped a little bit in that area before it reversed.
Because I think if you would have got in, see this arc and this arc, this is your arcs right here. This is very powerful signals because they keep pulling back up, you get a full confirmation. This choppiness here, honestly, I just think the way they keep coming back to this order block is why I haven't went long on them because I'm just curious to see if they're gonna clear this or if they're gonna reclaim this 12 EMA. I also have a earnings anchored VWAP on them as well. So this is a few things with Lily. I don't like this one to say if I don't see a full circle like this, that I would jump. Like this one was forming and then it did, right? It's like they want to break this order block down. So I'm not super confident yet because they keep coming back into this order block and chopping through it. So once they clear all of this and if they lose this support, we're coming down quite a bit on Lily. And there is a gap to fill. Here. So that's kind of what's been sketchy for me on Lily is I just don't know. Now, it kind of shows that if they can reclaim the 12 EMA, we get a full curve up, that we're getting almost like a W pattern. Like you see right here, boom, 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 and then we shoot up to here and here, test the 200 really. I don't like Lily outside of day trades right now. The swinging of if you're swinging Lily, you're brave because what's bothering me is they keep coming back to this order block. Like look at it, pop out, and it's a nice pop out, sell off, come back, boom, and so I don't like it yet.
I'm not in it. I got out of it because of that second dip there, and I'm just waiting. But under another scenario to where there you have a crossover in a demand zone, art there, what do you take or look for an entry, just in general? When
I
you
feel
start
like this one
dipping
I would have
down.
missed it because unless I was monitoring it from like a smaller time frame, because look
Mhm,
at the arc form and then look at the gap up right after.
mhm,
Kind of missed that one. And so that's why I try to watch it from like a 2 hour and a 4 hour just for the more early signals, even the 1 hour,
mhm.
because as those are signaling is kind of a better earlier entry from a smaller time frame. Like you see here, I get it. And you can see where the arc forms and we're also above the 12 EMA. I don't know if I like Lily as an example though. I would probably take it to let's try Palantir. It's something about Lily that I just don't like right now.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just trying to master that level one. I get confused. I said I know where the crossover happens, but sometimes y'all are getting in trades when I'm still waiting for the cross of the 12. And I'm like, how did they get in? I'm still waiting. And then sometimes when I do get in, it pulls back on me and kick me, stop me out. So I'm like, I'm gonna ask her the next chance I get how to perfect that entry on the arc in a demand zone.
So like this right here, why I was so pissed at myself because this is just the perfect entry. You're getting your wolf trend moving average arcing. The EMAs are right here. The 12 is still technically above your 200, even with this pullback on the 10-minute, and we're in that order block, right? So once
Mhm,
the arc is forming, because I know my 200 is right here, I
mhm,
know we did have a pretty significant pullback. I would wait for the crossover of the EMAs. Now, I would do it from a smaller time frame, but because everything is so close together, I just wouldn't jump right here. But I'm not scared in most cases to just start building a small position here. And then your stop loss is somewhere right under this order block because that's what you don't want to be lost is this order block.
mhm. Okay. So if the 12 wasn't as close, you wouldn't have been afraid to get in right there at that candle and ride it up to maybe the 12 and use it as a,
Exactly.
okay, I got you.
Yeah, in fact, once we get to the 12, if I'm in dip profit, I'll probably just slide my stop loss off, which is another thing. When you're in profit, and this is just for everyone, when you're in profit, one of the things that I think has been very significant for me is to not let a green trade turn red, slide my stop loss. I think I've been finding a nice range when I'm in profit and I may slide my stop loss off because remember, usually when I set my stop loss initially, is to only lose X amount if the trade reverses on me. So when I slide my stop loss off, I don't want to lose a certain amount of my profit. So then I manage what that is. Like if I'm 200 in a profit, maybe I want to make sure I lock in 150. So then my stop loss needs to be adjusted to where if everything starts to pull back, I get stopped out at and still be able to take back a 150. But I've raised my stop loss just in case we can move even more. Um, Another thing is I got to go back to my Carvana trade because that one really, I had one on Thursday and my stop loss didn't trigger. So I got to go back and figure that out because it actually ended up being my loser for Thursday and it really irritated me. So I'm gonna go study that chart and what I did wrong with my stop loss. But raising your stop loss is one thing that you just want to keep in mind as well because a lot of times your mind is set to, oh, we're going, and you're not even remembering where your target is. Raise your stop loss. That way, if you're 500 in profit, if you get stopped out because you don't want it to stop you out at a loss. You want it to stop you out now in profit. So that's one of the things I've been taking away as a practice that Sean was preaching to us is raise your stop loss. That way you can leave the trade green even if you want to stay in a little bit longer.
Okay.
But yes, if I'm in here and let's say my 12 is set up right here, or I'm above my 12 and this arc, and my 200 is positioned here, that's my target. So I'm just gonna ride the trade out here. In this case, they were so close together that it was okay to just wait for the full confirmation for me if I was gonna take that trade.
Okay. You called that out on Friday and I did get
And
it.
didn't get in.
You called it out. You drew my attention to it, and I did. So I got it for us. So I got in
Thank you.
at the float. I got in at the floating candle over the 12. But what I did not do was get out of it at the close of the day because I was focused on another stock I was trading. And so I'm just hoping that it don't take all of my profit by Monday. But I do
You
have
know,
time on it. I do have time.
good. I was gonna say that's okay because you may get that squeeze to 133, even a little wick above that. It just will, I guess we'll have to see how we open up overnight and then going into Monday's trading hours. So the good thing is you should be in profit depending on your entry. And I'm not mad at this break at closing to close above this 130. So I'm not mad at that. I'm even watching the video because I'm not really mad that they close above 135. We'll have to see how the market does. I have to do a little bit more deeper dive to kind of see. Um, I will cover SPY on my YouTube channel and then a few other charts there as well. So I think we could probably start to wrap up here, guys, and we can do this again next week. If it's helpful to you, just let me know. And then